So, welcome to all of you. I'm glad you're here. My name is Laura Garrison-Brook. Again, if you're a newbie, please do say hello. We would love to greet you. I'm going to be reading out of this magazine. The article I'm going to be reading to you is online, and I will tell you, what I'll do is I'll post a link to it in our circle. So if you haven't joined our circle yet, it's Yoga and Life Talk with Laura. It's a really sweet gathering of people. And the article, because the whole magazine is about self-care and the tension that often exists with self-care. And I'm going to be reading from the article which I found the most impactful, which is The Power of Sustainable Self-Care. And the quote that starts the article, which is beautiful, is self-care is not selfish. It's actually one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves and others because we cannot give from an empty well. Okay? So let's go ahead and migrate to our mats. I'm going to migrate to my mat, and I'm going to keep reading from this article as we practice because there's some really cool things to take away from the article. And then I'm also going to share the story that got me to thinking about the need for us to talk about this, because I had an experience which, for those of you who know me, you're like, Laura always keeps it real. So I'll share my story where I was like, I got very... Okay, so ground the feet down. Palms shine forward. Drop into your Tadasana, your mountain pose. Tuck the tail. Palms shine forward. And allow the shoulders to drop. And feel yourself landing. Landing here in this moment. Landing here in this body. Connecting. And just take stock without any judgment. Kind, compassionate awareness of the moment, of the body, of the mind. How are you feeling? Another breath. And then let's just gently start to empty coat sleeve. The arms. Nice tap to the body. Kind of a percussive tap. Bringing movement into the body. And slow it down. And let's start with a nice Surya Namaskar breath. So inhale those arms out and up, reach up, look up. And then hands lightly touch overhead and come on down the midline. We've been doing a lot of Hakini mudra, which is a third eye mudra, fingertips together, okay? So at any point, during any of these poses, like you can take Hakini overhead, and then you can draw Hakini down the midline into the heart, okay? And then let's bring our hands together, palms press, Anjali mudra, the gesture of devotion. And then we're going to roll our hands together. The thumbs roll together. The backs of the hands roll together. We circle the hands around, and then we open up our palms. Okay? I learned this in a Gaia yoga class, an online class. And I love what she said. She says our hands are like a prayer wheel. And then our hands are cupped in front of the belly. Feel yourself open, the palms open, being willing to receive. And then inhale those arms out and up, reach up, lift up. Again, hands lightly touch over the head, Hakini mudra, finger pads touch. Bring the hands down the midline, exhaling, having this be a meditation in movement. Hands, the palms come together. Anjali Mudra at the heart. And then we roll our hands. The backs of the hands come together. Draw the fingers around. And then the palms together. Feeling yourself again. Willing to receive. Being open to receive. And then the arms float up. Let's do that 2 more times. Really going inside, dropping down into stillness, into silence. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is about the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. Our prayer wheel. Palms together, being open to receive. Last one. Inhale it up. Exhale. Fingertips come on down. Hands in Anjali Mudra. And then roll our hands in our prayer wheel. Ivan the plumber is calling, y'all. Hands are open to receive. And feel yourself landing here. Palms open. Another breath. And then open up those arms. Reach up, lift up. And let's exhale and come on down. Forward fold. Uttanasana. Arms hang heavy. Soften those knees. Tailbone rises up. Taking care of the low back. Close the eyes. Go inside. And always, this is an invitation for you to have this yoga practice be a dance with your own body. Inhale, arch up halfway, flat back. Exhale, release down. Soften down. And sway from side to side. If that feels good, soften those knees as much as you need to. As if you are seaweed in the ocean. The head drapes down. Really feel into the feet. Gentle sway from side to side. And then come on up. Inhale, arch up halfway, flat back. And exhale, come on down. Step that right leg back. And hands frame the foot. Shoulders down the back. Alrighty. So this article, for those of you who have joined in the last few minutes, pouring energy down that right leg, out the heel, drop the knee, low runner's lunge. I'm reading to you from the magazine which is called Mindful. And this is an article by Shelley Tigilsky. I don't exactly know how to pronounce her name. And it's about the power of sustainable self-care. And this is definitely related to Agya Chakra. We're in Agya Chakra. Set those hips back, toes stay down. And I'll tell you more about why as we settle into the class. Inhale forward. And Shelley writes, it's not selfish to prioritize your own needs. Exhale it back, toes rise up. In fact, consistently showing up for yourself first lays the foundation for our life's purpose, showing up for others. And then she goes on to say, here's how to get started. So breathing into the back of that leg. And inhale it forward. Letting the hips release down, relax down. Okay, the font gets a lot smaller here. All right. So where do I want to start with this article? Exhale it back again. Breathing into the back of that leg. So Shelley writes about how she had a really hard time where, she was in a particularly difficult time of her life. And she thought about the blessings of the challenges she was, experiencing. Inhale the hips forward. Again, left knee is right over the ankle. Breathe in here. And then curl the back toes under, pouring energy again down that right leg. Right hand comes down and float that left arm up, stretch up, reach up. Really spread the fingers, enliven the palm. Stretch, open the heart. Hand down. And Shelley mentions, she said that she thought about a line from Mary Oliver's poem, settling into your down dog. Your head hangs heavy. My head is looking forward as I read this article. Mary Oliver's poem was called The Uses of Sorrow. Glide forward plank pose. And Mary Oliver wrote, "Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift." Okay? We might have that be our poem at the end of class today. Knees come down, hands underneath our shoulders. Inhale, lift up into our cow. And exhale, arch into our cat. So again, Shelley is writing about self-care. And she talks about how, she was in this place of darkness, and she said, her box full of darkness, she says it was the fossilized remains of a marriage, but she also had her son, right? She says her physical body was failing her, but it was also asking for her to take note and remember to appreciate her health. All right? So she's seeing both the shadow and the opportunity. Breathing here from your cat into your cow, just enlivening the spine. Okay? She writes, "My life had been dictated for so long by other people and forces. My parents, my husband, my children, my co-workers," right? "Societal norms, my religion, and now I was free to make my own decisions." So she was, honestly, it sounds like she was at a turning point, right? Those knees, and just glide the hips back and forth with the hand, with your torso still up. Kind of skate it back and forth, just bringing movement into the hips. Gliding back and forth, breathing here into the body. And Shelley goes on to say, "This was my reckoning to choose, and I was going to consciously lean into it. I knew that change is the only certain thing in our lives, and so I had that choice to make." Another breath, and then come on up. Plug the hands in, curl the toes, lift the hips. Down dog. So she wrote, "I wanted to get better, and I knew that required me to give more." Tailbone rises up, head hangs heavy. My head is forward just because I'm reading this article. "I wanted to try and accept this box of darkness and see it as a positive thing, a gift." Another breath. Step that right leg forward. As much as possible, see this as a positive thing, a gift. Hands frame the foot. And then she goes on to say, "What got me through this turbulent time was writing my own self-care list." Breathing, pouring energy down that left leg, out the heel. And this is where I think it really started to resonate even more with me. She goes on to say, why self-care feels selfish. All right? Hips relax down, release down. And she writes, set those hips back, toes stay down. She said, self-care means we commit to taking an active role in safeguarding our mental and physical wellness proactively and especially in times of duress. All right, so that's what self-care is. And it says, by definition, self-care means, bring those hips back, toes rise up, doing what is good for us, increasing our emotional and physical stamina, improving our self-esteem, and building resilience. Really breathe into the back of that leg. Inhale the hips forward. Maintaining good self-care ensures that we stay compassionate, impassioned, and engaged. Exhale it back, toes rise up. It means doing important work in one area without sacrificing other parts of our life. It means maintaining a positive attitude in spite of personal challenges and the larger injustices in the world. Ground the left hip hand down and float the right arm up, turning and looking at the top hand if you're not reading an article. Self-care activities create daily improvement in our lives and have beneficial long-term effects. That said, those activities are not always fun. Sometimes they even border on boring. Framing that foot, curl the back toes under. I think that we did our twisting thing with the knee up on the other side. Sorry about that, y'all. This is me trying to do multiple things at the same time, multitasking. Float that hand down, and come on, step back. All right, walk our dog out, down dog. Breathing here. Tailbone lifts up, head hangs heavy. Breathe, 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 breathe. Allow yourself to just drape that head down, rolling the head on the neck. Glide forward, plank pose. She continues to write, we might feel guilty about self-care because it can go against what we've been taught, which is that to be a good friend, parent, spouse or partner, co-worker, and community member, we have to put others first. Self-care means putting ourselves first, and we're often conditioned to believe this is wrong. Bring the knees down. It's rude. It isn't consistent with how so many inspirational leaders throughout history are portrayed, such as bring those hips back, plant the palms on the earth, Anahatasana, stretching out the heart, stretching out the underarms. This is so good for our immune system, sending lots of love to the lymph nodes in the underarm area. Another breath. Curl the toes, lift the hips now, dog. Such as Gandhi, these historical leaders, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Susan B. Anthony, and Margaret Sanger. We admire these individuals because they endured suffering and hardship while practicing self-sacrifice. Float that right leg back and up. If you like three-legged dog, otherwise just stay in down dog. Roll the foot on the ankle. Breathe here. Breathe, 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 breathe. Another breath. And then float that foot forward, coming into our Virabhadrasana 1. Now you're going to lift up, you're going to bring your hands overhead in Hakini Mudra. I'm going to stop reading in just a minute, y'all. Okay? So they were self-sacrificing, right? Proper nutrition, healthy relationships, and exercise are secondary, if not frivolous. They didn't have time for yoga. That's what it says. I'm not making that up. All right? So step forward onto that right foot. Left leg goes out and back. Two problems contribute to a negative view of self-care. The first is what I mentioned above, that self-care is often considered self-centered. Step it back. Inhale up. Warrior 1. It can imply caring that only extends to ourselves as individuals. Breathing both arms up. And then again, step forward, Virabhadrasana 3. But we can expand our definition of self to extend beyond the individual and include our family, community, the natural world, and all sentient beings. Step it back. Virabhadrasana 1. Self-care actually means caring for the entire community of which we are a part. It's not about being virtuous. It means living and working in ways that are consistent with and model how we want the world to work. All right, let's set that down. Sorry, I lost my balance. That I did not mean for y'all to lurch forward. Again, Virabhadrasana 3. And then Shelley goes on to say that self-care has also been co-opted by a lot of companies, come on up, Bakasana, who make a lot of money selling yoga clothes, selling spa vacations, selling this image, right, of us being zen, of us being calm. Step it back. Inhale, lift up. Virabhadrasana 1. Open the heart. And then open up into our Vira 2. For those of you who are newbies, I usually don't read a solid page of article in class. That's unusual. But it is so important because I think so many of us struggle with self-care. What self-care means, how we want it, but we don't know how to go about it, and how it can bang up against our persona. Breathing here in our Vira 2. Shoulders down. Let's straighten that leg and bring our Hakini Mudra. Tips of the fingers touch overhead. And then again, exhale it down. If you'd like, the palms can face up, feeling yourself open, looking over that front hand. And again, inhale the arms overhead, Hakini, which is when all the pads of the fingers lightly touch. Fingers are spread, palms are spread. And then again, exhale down. Last time. Inhale up. And exhale down. So from a Swadhyaya standpoint, hands frame the foot, self-inquiry, self-study, pouring energy down that left leg, out the heel, feeling that beautiful stretch through the hip flexor on the left side, right here. Another breath. Ground the hands, step it back, down dog. I invite you to kind of ask yourself, what's your relationship with self-care? How does it feel when you say no to someone else in order to say yes to yourself? Is it a struggle? Does it come naturally? Another breath. And glide forward, plank pose. Breathing. 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 And your choice here, if you want to rest in down dog, rest in child's pose, or flow with me through a vinyasa. Listen to the body. If you're flowing with me, let's exhale it back into down dog. Let's inhale forward into plank. Feeling into our strength. Inhale forward. One more time. Exhale it back. Inhale forward. And come on down, either Chaturanga or Ashtanga Pranam. Y'all know I'm not much of a Chaturanga girl. Settle those hips down, hands underneath the shoulders. Inhale, lift up into your Bhujangasana. Elbows snuggle in towards the waistline. A little bit of a bend to the arms. Beautiful back bend. Breathe into the back waist. Breathe into the kidneys and the adrenals. Shoulders are down the back. Nice long neck. Exhale it down. And inhale, lift. Exhale down. And inhale up. And come on up. Press the hands into the mat. Settle those hips down. Anahatasana. Another breath. Curl the toes, lift the hips down, dog. Walk your dog out. Tailbone rises up. Glide the shoulders apart. Head hangs heavy. Roll the head around. Glide that left heel back. And reach up, lift up, stretch up, and step it forward. Coming into Vira 1. Setting your feet. Lifting up. Ivan the plumber called me again. Ivan the plumber, I can't talk to you right now. So breathing. Okay. Teaching class. Talk later. This is also very unusual for me to be texting in class. All kinds of unusual things today. And we lost our music, gosh darn it. Breathing up, lifting up into your Vira 1. And then we step off into our Virabhadrasana 3. And taking note, as I often talk about, that our balance can be very different from side to side. My left has been pretty wonky lately. Breathing. And then inhale, lift up. And then exhale, Vira 3. So my story that kind of inspired me to dig into self-care. Inhale, lift up. So for those of you who know me, you know I'm mom to Cooper, who's 10. And I'm also hosting an amazing young woman who is living with us, fingers crossed, for a long time. 3-4 years. She just arrived in May. Inhale, lift up. And her name is Burmette. Some of you have met Burmette. And then lengthen into your Virabhadrasana 2. So Burmette arrived in May. And this might be information that a lot of you don't have. My husband and I are part owners of some restaurants here in Atlanta, 3 restaurants. And Atlanta is very much, I think, like the majority of the United States. Breathing. Straighten that leg. Hands come up overhead, fingers lightly touching Hakini Mudra. And then exhale it down. So we were having a really hard time finding employees. And Burmette arrived, so she arrived and she was very happy to help. She immediately stepped in and started working at one of our restaurants, which was amazing for us and good for her. And she said, all along, once I get ready to go to school, I'm probably going to want to not work anymore because I need to focus on school, which is why she's here. And we totally supported that and agreed with that. Exhaling it down. And last one, inhale it up. Fingers lightly touch. And exhale down. And she was working for us over the weekend. Sunday in particular was the day when we were really having a hard time getting people to work. Hands either side of the foot. And she said, as I get ready to go to school, I'm not going to want to work Sundays because I go to school Monday through Thursday. Walk your dog out, set on one heel down and then the other. Head hangs heavy, tailbone rises up. Rolling the head. On the neck. Oh, I forgot to do Bakasana. Sorry, y'all. So we need to have our... Which foot do you need to have together? We need to get left foot forward. Bring our left foot forward. And come on up into our Vira 2. And then step off into our Vira 1. And then float up into our Karate Kid. Floating into our Karate Kid. Breathing. Another breath. And let's go back into Vira 3 just because it's so much fun. Yay! I lost it again. Gosh darn it. Step it back. Virabhadrasana 1. And arms come down other side of the foot. Walk that foot back. So, my husband and I have a very, very long-standing relationship with the operating owner of the restaurant, whose name is John. Again, your choice if you want to come down into child's pose, rest in down dog, or flow with me through a vinyasa. Gliding forward, lift the hips back. Inhale forward into plank. Exhale it back, toes root. Heels root down, tailbone rises up. One more time. And John has been working like a dog, right? Totally working like a dog. Because of the fact we have such, an issue with employees right now. It's so hard to get people to work. Gliding forward into plank. And again, your choice, chaturanga or ashtanga pranam. Ashtanga pranam, your butt's up in the air. It's like an inchworm pose. And then we ground the hips. And inhale, lift into our bhujangasana. So I was explaining to John, Brett doesn't want to work on Sundays. And here are the reasons why. And that was the primary thing that was driving this decision. But I also mentioned, as, a side issue, this is the only day that we have free to do things as a family. Because as you all know, we lemonade on Saturdays. And also, it's the only day of the week I have to sleep in. Because I have to get up at 6 with Cooper, Monday through Saturday. So, exhaling it down. Inhale, lift up. Cobra pose. Come on up onto the knees. Anahata, palms pressed. And this, for whatever reason, well, I'm not going to say for whatever reason, I think I know the reasons, really didn't land well with John. That I was saying that Burmet, can't work on Sundays because of the fact that I want to be able to sleep in on Sundays. Tailbone rises up, head hangs heavy. And I think I mentioned to you already that he has worked 20 of the last 21 days. Head hangs heavy. So he has been incredibly busy. Incredibly busy. Drop those knees down. Curl the right toes under. And we literally, we have been working with this man. We have had a relationship with this man for 20 years. Curl the toes under. We have huge, huge fondness for this man. He's an amazing person. Pressing the hands back. Curling the toes under. Breathing into the back of the leg. And then float that leg up. Roll the foot on the ankle. But this is where it gets really interesting around self-care. Okay? And bring the foot across the body. Top of the foot on the floor. And walk the hands to the left. And in the wisdom lecture that Anand Malhotra does for Agya Chakra, third eye chakra, which is what our focus is right now, looking over that shoulder, he talks about how we often wind up in this trap where we believe, and then gently unwind, walk the hands back under the shoulders, bring that leg up, and you can kind of crank the hip open. And if you'd like, bring the hips level again, float that leg up, really firing up the glute on the right side. Breathe, 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 breathe. And if you want, you can try to reach back and catch the foot. You can also use a strap to catch the foot. So it's my left hand reaching back to grab my right foot. Breathing here. Float the leg up. Breathe into the rotator cuff. Open the heart. And then drop that knee down. Hands under shoulders. Knees under hips. Inhale up. Vittalasana cow. Exhale, Marjaryasana cat. And inhale, lift. So one of the things that Anand says, flip that left leg back. Roll the foot on the ankle. Breathe here. Breathe into this, the strength of the left leg. And then come across on a diagonal, top of the foot on the floor. Walk the hands to the right. And breathe into the left side waist. So one of the things that Anand says is we wind up getting ourselves into this trap because we're told to go, 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 do, run, 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 which makes us stressed, right? And it makes us to be in need of self-care, more self-care, because we're stressing ourselves out by running so hard and fast. And we feel like we need to do this in order to effectively earn our right to be here. Walk the hands under the shoulders. Breathe that left leg up. And you can crank it open. I lovingly call this fire hydrant pose. And then drop that left hip back down. Float the heel up, really feeling the hamstrings and the glute engage. Breathing here. And then bring the hand across. Mags, the name of the author for this article is Shelley Tygilski, Tygielski, Tygilski. Breathing here. Lift that leg up. Remember, you can grab your strap. So now this is my left leg, and I'm holding onto it with my right arm, right hand. Another breath. And release it down. Hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, arch. So, Anand says we're sent these messages, run, 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 do, go, 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 right? Come on back into your child's pose. Bringing the forehead down onto the earth. And as I mentioned to you previously, if you have a hard time getting your head down to the mat, grab your block and turn it appropriately. If you don't have a block, you can fist your hands, and maybe that will give you the height you need to put your forehead on your hands. If you're like, nope, Laura, my fists aren't big enough, well then bring your hands like kind of elbows on the mat, and bring your thumbs up to the eyebrows, and it can feel really good to roll your thumbs out from the inner corner of the eyes, along the eyebrows, and just follow the eyebrows out. That can feel super good. It's amazing how tight the muscles in the face can get. At least mine. Mine gets super duper tight. So, you're like, okay, all right, I'm not rat racing. I'm going to do less. But then we do less, and we feel possibly unworthy. We feel like, oh my gosh, I'm such a slacker. This is, again, so much of our self-worth is caught up in our sense of doing. Our sense of doing. And I think that's really at the heart of why self-care is so sticky for us. So incredibly fraught. Breathing here in your child's pose. Maybe wiggle back and forth. And if you wiggle back and forth, if that feels good, have the neck be really liquid and roll back and forth across the forehead. So look at what happened with, me and John. Because when John, when Dan was saying to me, John is really, the language, Dan being my husband, inhale, lift up. Curl the back toes under. Catch your pinky toes. Make sure the pads of the pinky toes are on the mat. Lightly grip the soles of the feet and lift the hips up. What Dan kept saying is it really stuck in John's craw that I was saying that I wanted to be able to sleep in on Sunday. Because here's John working 20 of the last 21 days. working very, very hard, running, right? Breathing here in the back heart. Feel that gorgeous stretch. Another breath. And settle those hips down. So when I had a conversation with Dan about this, again, Dan, my husband, come on to the seat. Legs nice and broad open. And when I come into a wide-legged seated pose, I always bring my hands behind me, fingers tented, and I lift my hips up and roll the hips forward. Because that tilts the pelvic bowl forward, which means that we're able to have a nice long lumbar spine. Okay? And this might be your pose, meaning you're just going to sit like this. You're going to be like, there's no forward folding for me. No. And if you're like, oh, I've got a little bit of space, just slowly walk your hands forward. And if I was a smarter yoga teacher, I'd have my blocks here, because it can be really nice as you go forward to have your blocks stacked. If you have 2 blocks, you could be like lengthwise and lengthwise, so that maybe you'll come forward and your blocks will be pretty high. But it can be super sweet to get your block, again, right on ajna, third eye, which is right between the eyebrows. Okay, melting down. Just coming forward, slowing it down. So here's John. Here's John in this place of, again, the trap, right? He's running hard, really emptying his well. You might remember that was the beginning quote that started off this article, okay? Self-care is not selfish. It's actually one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves and others, because we cannot give from an empty well, right? Continuing to melt down. Keep pulling the toes back. Knees are straight up. Melting down. And if you notice that you're getting super rounded through the lumbar spine, please sit up. Okay, we don't want to be compressing the lower back. Only if the lower back is nice and long is it okay to keep going forward. So there's John running, emptying his well and looking to me like, hey, support me here, right? Incredibly understandable, based on our relationship and based on his tension. But there I am saying, I need to take care of myself. This is part of my self-care, allowing myself 1 day of the week to sleep in. And Sunday is the day that works best, for me. So when John pushed back, and kind of from in between the lines, you could tell that John was resentful of me taking care of myself. And this really pushed my buttons. Go ahead and walk your way up. And the right hand comes onto the knee, and we side bend. So the conversation that I had with Dan about this, Dan again being my husband, if I was to be rated on a 0 to 10, with 10 being super zen and 0 being not, I probably would have gotten a -3, y'all. Okay? I was like, wow, 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 beep, 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 wow, wow, wow. I was not happy. And such strong emotion, whenever you have an experience like this, whatever it might be, and you experience this super, huge flood of emotions, that's, as was mentioned earlier in this article, that darkness is a gift. It's a gift. Floating over. Because, as I was able to settle down and get back into a more rational place, so now we're side bending in the opposite direction. We've inhaled up and we're side bending in the other way. That's such a gift, because when I was able to cool my head, I was able to say, I've got some stuff here. What is my stuff? How can I unpack this? Inhale, come on. And let's take turtle. We don't do turtle all that often. So with turtle pose, we bring the soles of our feet onto the earth, And we bring our elbows to the inside of the legs. And if you can, you thread your arms through. And you bring the heart down. So the arms go out and the heart goes down. Then you can kind of use the biceps to kind of gently pull yourself through. Breathing here. Breathing in your turtle. Another breath. And release. And walk it up. So what this really helped me understand is it's really hard for me to set boundaries. It's really hard, right? Lifting yourself up. Feet are together, knees are out. Bakasana, cobbler pose. Reaching back, tenting the fingers, lift your hips up, roll the pelvic bowl forward, set the hips down. You can also reach back and grab your chunky bits, as I lovingly refer to them, so that the sits bones, the ischial tuberosities, plug down into the earth. That helps tilt the pelvic bowl forward, which helps keep your lumbar spine nice and long. And then fold into your Bakasana. And you might be like, nope, not doing it. I'm just going to sit up. That's cool. Do what speaks to your body. Okay? If you want to lean forward, you can bring the elbows onto the knees, onto the inner thighs, so that the knees float down. In your cobbler pose. Breathing here in your cobbler. Another breath. And float on up. How are we doing on time? Holy moly! This class flew by. For me, at least. Hopefully it flew by for you, too. Come on to your back. And come on down. So when we have this experience, coming onto the back and just walk it out, waggle it out. When we have those experiences of trying to set boundaries, and the people in our lives, it might be our kids, it might be our significant others, it might be our colleagues, are like, whoa, 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 you never said no to me before. That, there's a good chance that you'll have, possibly for me, it was a lot of anger. Windshield wiper those knees, down to the right, look to the left. Because it was hard. It was hard for me to say, I want to have one day a week to sleep in. And for somebody to push back, when it was hard for me to set that boundary in the first place, it really riled me up. Okay? And that means for me, I need to work on my practice of self-care. So it just becomes more and more natural. And I have a greater and greater sense of, I deserve this. There's no reason to be angry about it. I deserve it. And it's okay for me to say, this is what I need. Saying no to you is saying yes to me. Swing those knees around. Hug the knees in. Stretch out the lower back. And if there's one last thing that would be sweet for you to do here in this practice, go ahead and do it now. And otherwise, just melt down. Feet flop open. Palms are up. Breathing into the belly. And allow yourself to melt down, relax down, release down. So The Uses of Sorrow by Mary Oliver. And this is a very short and sweet poem. Mary Oliver writes, "In my sleep I dreamed this poem. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift." So breathing here, the example of me talking about the life experience I had, which was a dark experience, but it was a gift because it helped me understand my relationship better with self-care and how I need to learn more about how I can continue to experience self-care in a way that I know I deserve this. I deserve this. I deserve to put myself first. So breathing here in that knowledge, saying to yourself, I deserve to put myself first. And see how that lands. See how that feels. I deserve to put myself first. Another way I've heard that described is we need to drink as much as we pour. As much as we give away to others, we need to take in that energy in order to sustain us. Another breath. And then intuitively start to move your body. Plugging in, feeling movement beginning to spontaneously arise. Whatever that looks like for you. And then as you're ready, rolling over onto the right side, wrapping your arms around yourself and just rock it out. One side to side. Rock it out. And then carefully pressing yourself up into an easy seat. Bringing your hands back into Hakini Mudra in front of the heart. Breathing here. Nice big inhale. And Anand says, let me say this quickly before we Om out together. Anand Marotra talks about with Agya Chakra. Agya Chakra is when Agya, our third eye, is balanced, flowing. That's when we know that our sense of worth is not tied up in doing. So we sidestep the whole tension around run, or do less and feel like we're not earning our way. Because we know our self-worth lives inside of us just through being. That's part of the incredible gift of an open third eye. So breathing here, let's take a nice big inhale.